During consideration of this resolution, all time yielded is for the purposes of debate only. I ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks on House Resolution 730.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, last night the Rules Committee met and reported out a rule, House Resolution 730, providing for the consideration of H.R. 5692, the Ukraine Security Assistance and Oversight Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2024, under a closed rule. It provides 30 minutes of general debate, equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking member of the Committee on Appropriations or their respective designees, and provides for 1 motion to recommit. I rise today, Mr. Speaker, in order to support that rule and the underlying legislation. Mr. Speaker, although I know my friends in the minority will express some consternation about today's rule, it sets up a discussion that I think is important to have. The rule takes $300 million in funds intended to support Ukraine out of the current defense appropriations process. It then makes an order a separate vote on those funds through H.R. 5692. The bill also creates a special inspector general for Ukraine assistance, ensuring that American dollars going to Ukraine receive appropriate oversight and supervision. Now, as my friends across the aisle are well aware, there is no mystery about how I will vote on this question. Ukraine has been and remains the victim of Vladimir Putin's unprovoked, unjust, and illegal invasion of his neighbor to the west. I firmly support continuing to provide funding to Ukraine so that they can continue to resist that invasion. It's not only in America's national interest to do so, but it's also the right thing to do. But for other members of the House, and for their constituents, a vote on funding for Ukraine is a matter of conscience. Shifting these funds out of the defense appropriations process and into a separate bill allows those members for whom there is a question of conscience to vote to support our troops through an otherwise robust defense appropriations bill, while also allowing all members to vote separately on providing funding to Ukraine. Mr. Speaker, it was never a bad thing it is never a bad thing to have all members of the House take a vote on a question. It is especially helpful in this instance to give all members the chance to be heard. Some of my Republican colleagues are supportive of the overall defense appropriations bill, but want to vote separately on Ukraine. Conversely, the vast majority of my friends across the aisle support funding Ukraine, but are opposed to the defense appropriations bill. Voting on this issue separately through H.R. 5692 gives everyone a chance to be recorded on this important topic. But this resolution does something else that I think is very important. It sets up a debate about American policy toward Ukraine. This is a very valuable discussion to have, Mr. Speaker, and one that the American people would assuredly benefit from. A debate on American policy toward Ukraine is important. It would help answer certain key questions that Americans are asking, such as, what is America's overall strategy? How are funds being used in Ukraine? What oversight policies are in place? President Biden has never given a formal address to the American people outlining America's overall strategy with respect to Ukraine. But that does not mean the House cannot have such a discussion. In fact, the opposite is true. The Biden administration's failure to adequately explain to the American people what our overall strategy is means that it's imperative for the House to discuss the topic on the House floor. Today's rule will give the House, and more importantly the American people, just that opportunity. We can have an open and honest discussion about American policy toward Ukraine and about American dollars supporting Ukraine in its fight against Russian aggression. And when the debate's over, all members of the House will have the opportunity to vote on this important question. I'm confident that at the end of the day, the House will pass this measure to appropriate these funds to support Ukraine. The only difference will be that we had a full, open, and honest debate about it on the House floor. With that, Mr. Speaker, I urge members to support both the rule and the underlying legislation, or underlying measure, and I reserve the balance of my time.